8:30 on Monday, June the 22nd, and it's morning briefing time. First of all, no changes to the National Terrorism Advisory System overnight, or over the weekend, I should say. Snapshot of the region this morning, we do have some updated numbers from the unaccompanied children. 2 declarations are being worked. They're in Oklahoma and in Texas, 42-22 and 42-23. We do see the status of our damage assessments that are going on around the region. The ones in bold are the ones that are complete. The only ones outstanding are in the state of Texas. No fire management grants to talk about this morning. Now, as we switch over to the GEO platform, things are relatively quiet on the map this morning. Brian's got a weather update for us in just a moment. But before we go there, status of our state EOCs in the region for a long time, and we're back to level 4 in all of our state EOCs. Looking at shelters this morning, we have 5 shelters in the state of Texas that are open. And looking at power outages this morning, Texas is reporting 1,600. All the other states are reporting less than 250. Before we turn it over to Brian this morning, we do have one thing to talk about this morning. This is the Cumberland Levee. It is in Oklahoma. This is the Washita River that we have been reporting on for about the last week that has had flooding. And along this levee, there's some overtopping going on, especially in this area right here, and we do have one breach. If you click on the icon and you scroll down a little bit, there is a hyperlink that will take you to a media article that's got a couple of more pictures there. This is Highway 199 there in Oklahoma. Now we'll go back to the main map. I'll turn it over to Brian.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Looking at the radar right now, things are pretty quiet. We do have some showers that are streaming into South and Central Texas, but really not expecting any major impacts from any of that activity. And weather-wise, should be pretty quiet for the work week. The main thing we're going to be watching are the rivers and the impacts along mainly the Red River is our river of concern for this week. As far as the impacts weather-wise, though, we're not expecting any major weather systems this week. We do see an increase in activity over in New Mexico as far as storm coverage is concerned, starting around Wednesday timeframe, midweek into the rest of the week. Could see some isolated heavy rain and flash flooding, but really not looking at anything as far as any widespread concerns there. As far as the rivers are concerned, as I mentioned, the Red River is going to be our main area that we're watching, as all the rain that we've seen in North Texas and Southern Oklahoma past really month and a half for the most part. But as things trickled on downstream, bottom line is the forecast that you're seeing there, the good news is they do take into account all the releases that are being done by the Army Corps. And also the good news is a lot of the river forecasts generally only take into account about 24 hours to maybe 36 hours of rainfall into them. Well, we don't have a whole lot of rainfall forecast over the next day or day and a half up in those areas, and really don't have a whole lot forecast for this work week. So what you see there is fairly accurate as far as the river forecasts are concerned. The one area that we're kind of keeping an eye on there in DeKalb is potential impacts to the Highway 59 bridge, and we'll just kind of see how things play out there. And then as we get into late next week, or excuse me, into probably mid to late next week, we'll start to see the water trickle on down into northwest Louisiana, and we'll have a better idea on what it's going to do to the Shreveport area again as we watch that water trickle on down. So that's kind of where we're at with the rivers right now. Tropics are quiet, and let's hope it stays that way. As far as the impacts are concerned across the region, nothing really today. We'll see some pretty warm temperatures. This is the first full day of summer, so we'll start to see some heat indexes in the 100s across some of the region. So definitely something to keep an eye on. But as far as weather impacts are concerned, nothing major for today. As I mentioned, we will see an increase in storm activity over New Mexico by midweek, but really just an isolated threat for heavy rain and flash flooding over there. You can see the 5-day total precip across the region pretty quiet, especially compared to what we've been seeing over the past month and a half. So we'll definitely take it. A nice donut hole over North Texas there. That's definitely what we need there. The drought is pretty much over across the region. We are starting to see a little bit of an uptick over there in New Mexico, but hopefully with some of the increased rain that we'll see today, and then we're starting to get closer and closer to monsoon season, we'll start to probably see some improvement over there as well as we get into July and August. We actually do have some space weather to talk about for a change. We're expecting a strong geomagnetic storm later on today, with a moderate storm continuing into tomorrow. Main impacts to the region would probably be intermittent radio blackouts, and that's probably all that we would probably be concerned with here for as far as FEMA is concerned in the Region 6 area. As is typical when we see these geomagnetic storms, we'll also have impacts out in outer space, but you guys probably don't care about that as much. And I believe that's all I've got, unless there's any questions.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. If you have a question for the Weather Service, go ahead and type them in the chat window. If you're on the phone, just go ahead and ask your question. In the meantime, what you see on the screen there is the meetings that are going on around this week, and looking forward to next week. Did you know that 6 inches of moving water knock over and carry off an adult, and 12 inches will take your car? And not much more than that will move your pickup too, as we saw recently with some of the high waters around here. Turn around and don't drown. And we're going to play that video for you. No? We'll try that one more time. All right, everyone. Have a great Monday. We'll talk to you tomorrow.